Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margo Donahue and Sonia Mansfield talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy.
Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margo Donahue, and my cohort and creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. You guys, thank you so much for coming back to the show where we talk about creeps from the past to the present. Today, we're talking about an old-timey Hollywood creep. Those are some of the favorites for you people out there. But before that, I just want to thank a couple of people who joined our Patreon page. Emily and Kathy. Emily and Kathy, thank you so much. If you join
Thank you.
If you join our Patreon page, we put out extra bonus episodes, which is extra salty, and we're extra drunky when we do it. It's really fun.
Yes, and this podcast is salty, y'all. We use dirty words, so consider yourself warned.
Indeed. And you can find us on social media. We have a Facebook group. It's a private group. You ask to join What a Creep podcast group. And if you don't look like a creep or a weirdo or someone that's lurking out there trying to pounce on people, you'll get in. Don't worry about it. Mm-hmm. You can find us on Twitter at CreepPod because somebody had What a Creep for 10 years on Twitter and never used it.
Creep.
You can also find us on Instagram at What a Creep Podcast. And we have an old-timey email, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
Old-timey.
Fixing the thing today, kiddo. And we also do have a website, so definitely check us out. Right, Sonia?
That's right. Go to whatacreeppodcast.com and you can find all of our episodes there. And it's also got links to like an About Us page and our merch shop that has our logo on tote bags and journals. And did I say t-shirts? T-shirts. And all kinds of fun stuff. It's awesome.
And we want to thank Graham, 2M, and Ken. She left us a 5-star review in iTunes. It's just a great place to, speak out to us. We also get people who bomb us with 1 star. So if you can leave us 5 stars, if you would like to, that would be amazing. If you want to join the Patreon page, that'd be amazing. If money's tight, believe me, we both get that. Just, tell a friend about the show or ask for some stickers. We're happy to pop those in the mail for you. Put that on your laptop, your bumper sticker, wherever you crazy people put your stickers. Put it on there.
Wherever you want to stick it.
Stick it on your face. We don't care.
Do it. Stick it on your face.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it. Do it. Do it.
Do it.
That's my favorite, the Ben Stiller show.
Do it.
Do it. Do it. Do it.
I love that character.
If that was an old reference to you, today's today's subject is super duper old.
So old.
Who are we talking about today?
We are going to be talking about Charlie Chaplin. Sources for this episode include the Charlie Chaplin official website. Charlie Chaplin, it's a biography by Peter Ackroyd. Charlie Chaplin, A Brief Life, The New Yorker, Ranker, Vice, Biography, and, of course, the fine folks at Wikipedia. The trigger warning here is adultery and statutory rape. And let's get started. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. Charlie Chaplin is one of the most influential and recognizable faces in movies. The image of the Little Tramp, pale skin, little Hitler mustache before Hitler made it famous. Mm-hmm. It's a part of our cultural history. You can find it everywhere. It's on mugs and t-shirts and posters and magnets. It's really shorthand for classic movies. Film historian Mark Cousins wrote that Chaplin changed not only the imagery of cinema, but its sociology. But also its sociology. Did I say that? And grammar. Sorry, everybody. I'm not drunk, I swear. Basically, he was the first to make feature-length comedies a thing. He was the first to make comedies that had like heart and empathy and like real stories. It's not just like Keystone Cops running around or pie fights. 6 of Chaplin's films have been selected for the preservation in the National Film Registry by the United States Library of Congress. That includes The Immigrant, The Kid, The Gold Rush, City Lights, Modern Times, and The Great Dictator. Have you seen any of these, Margo, by the way? Have you seen Charlie Chaplin movies?
No. I'm sorry. No.
I have seen quite a few of these, and they are really great. And I do understand Some people are going to get upset. It's okay. If you want to like Chaplin movies, it's fine. Just like we talk about, separate the art from the artist or don't. And that's okay. You do you.
Yeah, I'm just not into those old silent films so much. But I did see the movie with starring Robert Downey Jr. If that counts at all? No.
That's fine. That's fine. And there's other ones too. Like there's Harold Lloyd or Buster Keaton. You know, they also made really great, hilarious, awesome silent films. So if you want to watch silent movies, but not Chaplin, you could watch those. They're great. Chaplin has received a ton of honors. He's received the Golden Lion from the Venice Film Festival. He's received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Lincoln Center Film Society. He has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He's received 3 Academy Awards. 2 of them are honorary, both of them for, you know, his impact on the art form of movies. In 1976, he was made a fellow of the British Academy of Film and Television, the BAFTAs. He's world famous. Everyone knows Chaplin. There's statues of him all around the world. Poland, Ireland, London, India, Italy, Barcelona, Switzerland, everywhere.
And I'm the asshole that's never seen his movies.
And you're like, who?
I know what he is. It just never really appealed to me. That's all. I'm sorry.
No, and that's okay. Silent movies aren't for everybody. I actually really like silent movies, and I've been to the Silent Movie Festival, Film Festival here in San Francisco multiple years in a row. I like that sort of thing. Humble brag, because I think they're fun. But yeah, and I understand. Like he is an icon. He was also a womanizing prick who had sex with underage girls, or as Vox so eloquently put it, Charlie Chaplin was a sadistic tyrant who fucked teenage girls.
Nicely put.
Nicely put, Vox. The Little Tramp, indeed. So let's start at the beginning. Charlie Chaplin was born April 16th, 1889 in London. His mother was music hall singer Hannah Chaplin, who already had one son out of wedlock. Scandal. Although she was married to another successful music hall artist named Charles Chaplin, it's quite unlikely that he was actually Charlie Chaplin's real father.
Ooh.
Yeah. Charlie Chaplin Sr. did give his name to Charlie Chaplin, but a year after his birth, he walked out on the family, probably because Hannah cheated a lot of infidelity. Mm-hmm. And he left her and the boys, and they were very poor. Chaplin later confessed that his mother had many affairs, and most likely due to their poverty, she worked as a sex worker to earn money for the family. It's really sad.
Yeah.
Eventually, she caught syphilis, which led to mental illness and dementia.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Later, Chaplin would claim that he slept with over 2,000 women in his lifetime, which he alleged was a result of severe abandonment issues developed from his upbringing. Because
if it's not one thing, it's your mother.
It's your mother, exactly. Chaplin spent some of his childhood living in a workhouse, which I was like, I don't know what that is. It is where people would go when they can't support themselves, and they get accommodations in exchange for labor.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and he was young. He was like super young. Aww. This was after his mother was committed to a mental institution. He started performing as a teenager. He used to do clog dancing. And then
Haven't we all gone crazy in our teens and put on some clogs and just danced around everywhere?
He also got into stage acting. Clog dancing.
No wonder he got laid so much.
I know, right? Also, by the way, he was swimming in pussy because of his clog dancing.
Dripping in trim.
Yeah, he was just dripping in it. He was swimming in it. He was short too, by the way. He was like short. I should say short for a man. Like he was like, they say between 5'4" and 5'6". I'm 5'6", so I don't think that's short, but some people might say it's short for a dude.
My mother was 5'4", and it pissed her off when we would all say she was short. Because we're all really tall. And she's like, I'm average. Like, not in this house.
You're little.
You're a wee bitty one.
That's right. And so is he. But, you know, that clog dancing.
Jumped him up.
Yeah, it sure did. He also got into stage acting. And at 19, he was signed to the Fred Carnot Theater Company. And that's what took him to America. And from there, he was scouted by the film industry. And that's when he developed the Little Tramp persona, which is the pale face, the mustache, the hat, the cane, all that stuff. And it made him the most famous man in the world. And this is all by the age of 26.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know. In 1919, Chaplin co-founded United Artists, which is still a thing, and gave him complete control over his films. So his movies, he wrote, directed, produced, edited, he starred in them, he composed the music for most of them. And he was a perfectionist because he was financially independent. He spent years developing his movies and putting them out. So if you watch the Robert Downey Jr. movie, they talk a lot about that. And so I'm not really going to get into that here.
There's a lot of scenes of him going, I'm not ready yet. I need more time. I need more time.
And
that's my Charlie Chaplin impression.
Do it again. Do it again. Do it again.
Wrong.
And I'm not going to go into all the ins and outs of all of his movies because this is What a Creep. It's not a film history podcast. But if you want to learn more about silent movie history, which Margo doesn't, but if you do, and you're interested in like Chaplin's influence on film, I strongly recommend the documentary series Moguls and Movie Stars, Hollywood History. You can buy it on Amazon. I think it's streaming on Amazon too. It's really, really good. But I'm going to focus on why he's a creep. So I'm going to talk about the women in his life. And I'm just breaking it down by the women. So we're going to start with Mildred Harris. In 1918, 29-year-old Chaplin met 16-year-old Mildred Harris at a party. Mm-hmm. Despite the fact that she was underage, he pursued her. And by pursued, I mean statutory rape. Mm-hmm. When she told him that she was pregnant, he was afraid of a scandal, so he arranged for them to get married. And this was in October 1918. It turned out the pregnancy was a false alarm or a trick, depending on who you believe. And very soon, Chaplin started to regret all of it. He thought Harris had trapped him into a marriage. And he would just badmouth her to everybody. He would tell people that she was embarrassing, that she was a bad actress, that she was, quote, no mental heavyweight. Ugh. And yeah, I know, he's a real prick. He was a prick to her. He was really, I wrote in here, he was short with her, LOL. And moody. And he would leave home for like days at a time, and he would never tell her where he was going. It's awesome. After she truly became pregnant with his child, she had a nervous breakdown. Her situation wasn't helped by the fact that he was sleeping around with everybody. Mm-hmm. He could not keep it in his pants. Mildred later complained that, quote, Charlie married me and then he forgot all about me. Aww. He was short-tempered, LOL, impatient, and treated me like a cretin. Aww. In July 1919, this is really sad, she gave birth to their son, and he had malformed intestines, and he died 3 days later. It's really sad.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's so sad. And then a few days after that, Chaplin moved out of their home. He dumped her.
Right after the baby died.
After that. Yes.
What an asshole.
Yep. I know. Total asshole. She filed for divorce, citing mental cruelty, and Chaplin accused her of infidelity with both men and women. In an out-of-court settlement, Mildred got $100,000 and a share of some of his properties.
Oh, that's actually pretty good for 1919.
She continued to work as an actress after the divorce, so she appeared in a couple of other films, including The Inferior Sex, what the fuck, and another movie called For Husbands Only. They sound awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure they passed the Bechdel test. Bechdel test?
Yeah. Bechdel. Yeah. Bechdel. Okay, so now we're going to talk about Lida Gray. She first met Chaplin when she was 8 at a Hollywood cafe.
How old? I'm sorry?
She was 8 when she first met him.
Okay, because I thought that was a mistake for a second. She was 8?
8.
Okay.
When she first met him. Then she appeared in his movie The Kid when she was 12. And then at 15, she auditioned for and got a part in The Gold Rush. Mm-hmm. And it was during her screen test for The Gold Rush that he told her, when the time and place are right, we're going to make love.
Ew. Oh.
Gross, right? Gross.
Ugh.
I'm like, I'm a grown-ass woman, and I don't want people to talk to me like that. That's disgusting. Anyway, weeks later, apparently the time was right, And as this article so politely writes, they consummated their relationship in a steam room in his Beverly Hills mansion.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I wrote, seeing as he was 35 and she was 15, I think the term they're looking for is statutory rape.
Oh, my God.
I know.
Ugh.
Also in a steam room. Ew.
Yuck.
He's fucking gross. This is all happening, by the way, when he's divorcing Harris. So he's in the middle of his nasty divorce, and he's just moved on to a 15-year-old girl. Lita Gray got pregnant, and Chaplin suggested she have an abortion, but her mother rejected it. Then he suggested that they get another man to marry her, and he would pay them $20,000. They turned that down too. And seeing as how he committed a crime, and he was worried about actually being held responsible for his actions. Imagine that. They got married in a secret ceremony in Mexico to avoid scandal.
She was 15?
She was underage. Yeah, 15.
Oh, my God.
She is underage, so it would be illegal for him to have sex with her and for her to be pregnant and all those things. But if you're married, then it's fine.
Yikes.
That's how it was at the time. So they got married, but he made it very clear to her what he thought of her, and he often referred to her as a little whore.
Oh, Jesus, what an asshole.
He's such an
I hate
asshole.
him. I'm glad I never saw his movies.
Yeah, and despite the fact that he obviously didn't like her, he had so much contempt for her, she later revealed that he was a sex machine, and he would have sex with her like 6 times a night.
Oh, no, thank you.
I know, right? No. When she got pregnant a second time, he pulled a gun on her and tried to make her have an abortion, which she didn't do. Dude, I wrote in here, you're having sex with her 6 times a night all the time? What the fuck? Do you not know how babies are made? Fuck this guy. He's such an asshole. At the end of the year, she filed for divorce. She claimed that he, quote, solicited, urged, and demanded that Lita gratify his, quote, abnormal, unnatural, perverted, and degenerate sexual desires. I couldn't figure out what those were.
I don't want to go there, yeah. I mean,
I'm like, maybe I don't want to know.
Animals in or something, or
I don't know.
No.
Maybe he made her wear the mustache. I don't know. Ugh. Lita's lawyers threatened to reveal names of 6 actresses that he was having an affair with at the time. And some of those actresses were married themselves. So he settled with her as well. And she got $625,000 from him. I know. Not bad, right?
That's good scratch.
And she got $200,000 trust for their sons. And at the time, it was the largest divorce settlement in American history.
Good for her.
Yeah. I was like, good job, lady. So they had 2 sons. It was Charles Chaplin Jr. and Sidney Chaplin. She actually kept on working too. She did vaudeville a lot, but eventually she developed a drinking problem. She worked the rest of her time as a sales assistant in stores in Beverly Hills.
Oh God,
until she passed away.
Did she go through all the money?
I think so.
Oh, damn.
I know. It's a bummer.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make sure that I give you all updates on what happened to these women. So after her, there was Paulette Goddard.
Yes.
Which most people probably know. She's a famous actress. She was 22, y'all. She's practically a granny. But here's the catch. When she met Chaplin, she lied to him and said she was 17.
Good for her.
So she tricked him into thinking she was underage. That's not gross. So in 1932, he began dating her, and it wasn't very long after she moved into his mansion, and he cast her as his leading lady in modern times. They say that they were probably married, but no one is really sure. Okay. There's no paperwork, apparently. She was supposed to play Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind, and the producer, David O. Selznick, who I think is pretty creepy himself, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yes, he is. He's on the list.
Yeah, he thought she was perfect for the role, but he withdrew the offer when she could not produce a marriage license validating her relationship to Chaplin because maybe they weren't really married.
Oh, okay.
Chaplin cast her in his movie The Great Dictator, and he was just really, really controlling. He insisted that she had to be on the set every day at 8 a.m. every day so that he could personally style her hair. And he was just a prick to her on the set, right? Like he would yell at her in front of everybody and make her cry, and he was an asshole. and eventually fed up with his attempts to control her and her career, because she is getting turned down now for shit like Gone with the Wind because of him. She didn't file for divorce. She left him right after The Great Dictator premiered. And eventually Godard, she worked in movies and TV until she passed away in 1990. And she was married 2 more times, once to Burgess Meredith.
Oh, my God.
Which I know. And then the other one was Eric Remarque. Is that how you pronounce it?
I don't know.
The novelist who wrote All Quiet on the Western Front.
I have no idea, but good for her.
Oh, yeah, I know. Side note, this is a little spoiler for something that you're going to learn about at the end. But after Chaplin passed away, some grave robbers dug up his coffin.
Oh, wow.
And stole it. Yeah. And apparently they first contacted her to get money. They were holding it for ransom. And she replied, "So what?" and slammed down the phone.
Yeah.
So
me too.
I don't think they parted on the best terms, let's just say. Then we have Joan Barry. She was 21. Also, a little old for him, right? So not long after separating from Godard, Chaplin hooked up with actress Joan Barry, and they had an on-again, off-again affair for about a year, from 41 to 42. And it resulted in like multiple legal proceedings for him. According to the FBI, because the FBI had to get involved, Chaplin flew Barry to Los Angeles and, quote, made her available to other individuals for immoral purposes. This was in violation of something called the Mann Act, which, if you're listening to the Lolita podcast, they do a whole thing about the Mann Act and how it was really something about, they would target like African-American men who were traveling with white women, but they used it for this. This is a law that prohibits the transportation of women across state lines for purposes of debauchery. But eventually Chaplin was exonerated for that. Barry also suffered from mental illness, and as the relationship started to end, she would break into his home. At one point, she threatened him with a pistol. It was revealed in these FBI documents that Barry had gotten pregnant twice, and during that 1 year time, both times she got abortions. And the third time she got pregnant, she kept the child, and it was a daughter named Carol Ann, who was born October 2nd. That's my birthday, 1943. And she claimed that Carol Ann, just reminds me of Poltergeist.
Yeah.
She claimed that Carol Ann was Chaplin's daughter, which he denied. So she filed a paternity suit, and the suit went to trial, and he actually took a blood test. And apparently the blood test revealed that he was not the father. This is interesting to me. But Barry's attorney argued that the tests were inadmissible, and he won. So then, even though the blood test said that Charlie Chaplin was not the father, he was still held responsible for the baby, and he had to pay the court fees and child support.
Holy crap.
I know, isn't that crazy? I don't think that makes him a creep necessarily, but I still think it's interesting. Mm-hmm. So the last woman in his life was Ona O'Neill. Una. I knew it was Una.
It's an Irish name.
I even wrote it out. I'm so stupid.
No, you're not.
Una O'Neill. So this is 2 weeks after the paternity suit was filed. He married 18-year-old Una O'Neill, the daughter of playwright Eugene O'Neill. Eugene O'Neill's the same age as Chaplin, and he was very furious, and he disinherited her. He had been introduced to her by a film agent 7 months earlier. She was probably 17 at the time, by the way. In his autobiography, Chaplin described meeting her as the happiest event of my life and claimed to have found, quote unquote, perfect love. And apparently perfect love includes Chaplin's outbursts, raging temper, and cruelty towards his children. Oh. Yeah. According to a biography about Una by Jane Scoville, it's called Living in the Shadows. They interviewed Joan Collins, who was a friend of hers. Yes, that Joan Collins. And she said that Una catered to her husband's like every whim, almost like a geisha, like
Yeah.
death. The couple they stayed married until he died, and they had 8 children together over 18 years.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? 8.
8. That's a lot.
Fucking bananas.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So this is interesting to me. There's all these instances of statutory rape isn't even what endangered his career. What ended up endangering his career and his legacy was that he was accused of being a communist. And this wasn't until he was in his 50s. So like from like 20, from his 20s to his 50s, he's just having sex with girls and people are like, what are you going to do? But then the minute they think he's a communist or something, it's like, ah! Chaplin's political activity got really heightened during World War II. Like he supported various like Soviet American groups.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people did.
Yeah, and he was very friendly with several suspected communists, and he attended like certain functions that were given by Soviet diplomats in Los Angeles. He denied being a communist and said he called himself a peacemonger. By the way, I'm not saying that any of this makes him a creep. I think it's context. We need a little context. So he openly protested the trials of the Communist Party members in the House of Un-American Activities Committee. He received a subpoena, but he was never called to testify. His activities were widely reported in the press. People were wondering like why he never took an American citizenship test. Apparently that was a big deal to people back then. And the FBI wanted him out of the country, and they launched an official investigation of him in 1947. And like I said, I don't think any of this makes him a creep, but I think it's important to talk about why he left the United States. So he decided to hold the world premiere for his movie Limelight in London. And then the day after he left for that premiere, the United States Attorney General revoked his re-entry permit, and that he was only allowed to come back in the country if he would submit to an interview about his political views and his moral behavior. So they're interested in
right. When they think he's a commie.
Behavior,
Right.
So he didn't come back. He didn't come back for 20 years. So he came back in 1972 when the Academy gave him like an honorary award. And there were no repercussions for what he did. They didn't question him about anything. It's 20 years later. And I think all of this was really brushed under the rug. So he died October 1977. His health had declined and he had a stroke on Christmas morning, 1977. He died in his sleep. And then, as I teased earlier, in March 1978, 2 people dug up his grave. I'm sorry, I don't know when it's just, it seems like a hard way to make money. But they held it for ransom, and they contacted Paulette Goddard, and she was like, so what? And hung up on them. And then they contacted Una Chaplin, but the police got involved, and they were actually able to catch these people and put the body back where it's supposed to be. It's just, once again, wasn't there an easier way to make money? So I have a couple of other like random creepy notes here. According to legend, Chaplin was the mastermind behind some of Hollywood's most illicit gatherings, is a polite way of saying it. I would call it orgies.
Yeah, so I was going to say, orgies?
Yeah, orgies. And he would do this with Fatty Arbuckle, who is someone else I believe that is on our list. That is a thing. And also some film historians have said that Chaplin is the originator of the casting couch. Film historian Kevin Browning claims that during auditions, Chaplin would dress as the tramp, and he would only communicate with the actress he was auditioning via caption cards and mime, and supposedly to test their ability to, quote, perform in silent movies. And the cards would become ever more lewd and suggestive, and he would get them to undress, and he would fondle them, and so on and so on. Yeah, it's really gross. So why didn't any of Chaplin's shitty behavior and statutory rape impact his career? Because he was protected by Hollywood film studios. His preference for young girls was not a big secret. And when I say young girls, I mean kids. They're kids, by the way. They're children. They're underage. It was not a big secret. But as long as his movies made money, film studios were more than willing to look the other way and help him hide it from the press. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, this hasn't really changed. This still is happening now. The Me Too movement has brought some of it to light. I mean, look how long Harvey Weinstein got away with raping women, and fucking Woody Allen and Roman Polanski still work. You know, we can judge about like, how the fuck did that happen? It's still happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our creep, Charlie Chaplin.
Good job, Sonia.
Thank you. I'm happy to
let him go.
have that done. I'm going to go watch some Buster Keaton and Harold Lloyd tonight.
Are they bad? I was gonna cover Stan Laurel,
You know what?
but he had his own bullshit. So I was like, I'm not gonna do that.
I don't know if they're bad. I guess I should research that, but I don't think they're as bad as Charlie Chaplin.
No, they're not. Nobody's as bad as Charlie Chaplin. But I was trying to find somebody who's
Right?
not a creep. And I was like, well, maybe Stan Laurel wasn't a creep at all. But it's like, he had a little bit of he had some issues too. Not with young kids. I'm not saying that.
Fun.
So do
Okay,
you want to hear about someone who's not a creep?
I can't wait.
I decided to go more modern because this is just happening in the news. And this happens with the show. You and I do try to plan out a season, and then something happens in the news or we catch a documentary.
It fails. It fails miserably.
So this past week,
Actually.
yeah.
No, just I was laughing that we always try to plan it out and we never stick to that plan.
No, we plan it out and then like we'll bold it and then we'll add a comma and we're like, well, maybe this one or maybe that one, and then we just move shit around and then it's just like, I'm covering this person next week because I have to talk about this, and the other one goes, okay, whatever you need.
Yeah.
So the person I'm talking about today, she's in the news. Her name is Evan Rachel Wood. She is an actress. She was born 1987 in Raleigh, North Carolina. She's been in the business since 1994. She has a son that she completely shields from paparazzi. She was a child actor. She began in the show American Gothic, which I loved. It was a long, long time ago.
Oh, I've never seen that show.
It was really good. And then once again, I remember that show. She was on there. She became famous when she was in the drama 13, which was an independent film in 2003.
She's so good in that.
Oh, she's great. She was in Running with Scissors. Mildred Pierce was a really great TV movie that she did. It's an HBO miniseries, excuse me. She was in True Blood. I started watching her again the first season of Westworld, and then I had to stop watching Westworld because I just was like...
Same.
I can't...
Same. She is amazing in it, by the way. Like, her
Yes.
performance is really, really, really great. It's just the show is too dark. Too dark for me.
It's too dark, and it's trigger warning. It's about women being raped and being owned. And Evan Rachel Wood has admitted that she'd been through sexual assault in her lifetime. And then she went even further. When she was 19, she was involved with Marilyn Manson, who was in his 30s. And it was 2007 when they started dating. So it was just before she turned 20. And I hate this guy. They went out for a few years. They were engaged for a little bit, and then they broke up. And then she said years ago that she was in a really bad relationship, and there was a lot of control, a lot of manipulation. And then she went to Congress to try to extend the statute of limitations for sexual assault, because, you can be assaulted and it takes you a while just to even tell a person, much less go to the cops, much less, okay, now we have to have a district attorney involved. And then it's just one of those crimes. It's very tough for people to come forward with it. This isn't rape that she's accusing him so much as just that they were in a relationship where he abused her. He took her food away. He starved her.
Oh my God.
He was gaslighting her. He kept her away from her friends. And he has this pattern of what they call love bombing. So Manson would meet a woman he's interested in, and he would just be like, you are the most amazing woman that's ever existed. I can't live without you. Blah, 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 blah. We're going to be talking about Marilyn Manson next, is my whole point. So we'll get to him. But she went to Congress and said that in one of my past relationships, that happened to me. The boyfriend manipulated me. It took me years to overcome it. It takes years to deal with it. And she didn't name who it was. And then this past week, she said, yes, Marilyn Manson was the person. And because she was willing to come forward and she did speak out about it, other women have come forward. Ashley Waters, she was a personal assistant of his and said he became very violent with her. And we'll talk more about all these women. But there's Gabriella, who's an artist, Sarah McNally, Ashley Lindsay. All these women are coming forward to say, yes, he did this to me too. And he has had his record contract broken. He's been dropped by his agent.
Oh, too bad.
I
So
know.
sad.
Wah, wah, wah. But it's because basically she was also in Drunk History. I mean, like, she's got such a cool resume and she seems like such a cool person. And she puts herself out there. She helped write the Phoenix Act, which is a domestic violence bill, which increased the statute of limitations on domestic violence felonies from 3 years to 5 years. And it also requires police officers to have additional training on intimate partner violence. It's not easy to put yourself out there as a victim
No.
and also want to find work and also just want to be able to protect your kid from paparazzi and just live your fucking life because you dated someone when you were 19 who turned out to be a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
And people will say, like, well, look at Manson. Why would anybody think he'd be normal? It's like, look at Armie Hammer, like people have said in our Facebook group.
Yeah.
Who would have thought he was a psycho?
Yeah.
So it's more that people that do that victim blaming, and she's not, and she really stands for a lot of women who are scared to speak for themselves. And that's
Yeah.
our not creep this week, Evan Rachel Wood.
That's a really good pick. And we do not stand for victim blaming here. That is not a thing. Fuck that. She's awesome. And I'm so glad you picked her. And he is definitely on the list. And when you described a love bombing, that is exactly what Chaplin would do to these women.
Yep.
And by women, I mean girls. I'm
Yes.
sorry. Because a lot of them were underage. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And it is, I have to have you. You inspire me. You're this. I love you the most, blah, blah, blah. And the minute he gets them, he doesn't give a fuck about them anymore and gets them pregnant and then gets mad at them for being pregnant. And
Right.
he's a real piece of work.
Yeah.
And by piece of work, I mean a real piece of shit.
Yes. Yes.
And so good pick on her. And she's in so many great movies. So if y'all are interested, you should watch one.
And she's a singer and she's just got a lot going for her. And she's been nominated for Emmy Awards and Golden Globe Awards. And she's just very successful. Like I said, she could be very quiet and just live her life and just be super quiet, not say anything and be it'd be fine.
Yeah.
But she's putting herself out there because it's making it then helpful for other women to come forward like, yeah, me too. He did that to me. And that's good.
And imagine doing that. She
Yeah.
doesn't have to do that. And imagine you going into your job at some tech company where you work in communications or you're an engineer or whatever, and you somehow have to share the most traumatic, fucked up thing that's ever happened to you.
Right.
And then still go to work. That's what she's done. She's put something so fucked up out there that she had to deal with. And then, she has to work with all these people that know this thing about her. It's crazy. It's hard.
It's very hard. It takes a lot of guts to do it.
It totally does. She is insanely strong for doing that.
So that's our show this week, you guys. If you like the sound of our voices, check out Dorking Out, where we dork out about movies. Our most recent episode was about Young Frankenstein,
So fun.
which was so fun to do. And do you want to say what the next one's going to be?
Yes, we're going to do the Karate Kid.
Woo! Cobra
Which I haven't-
Kai!
Yeah. And then I'm going to start Cobra Kai as well. So I know that you've been watching it all along. So I'm sure you'll have lots of thoughts and feelings, but I'm playing catch up. But I'm really looking forward to rewatching Karate Kid. It's been a while.
Be sure to reach out to us on social media if you have suggestions for creeps and non-creeps. Once again, we have a private Facebook group, What a Creep podcast group. We love it when you use the gif of Annie Potts and Ghostbusters. We got one.
I love it.
But send it to us any way you want. You can put it in the suggestions in the iTunes review, or you can put it in an email to us, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. And Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Twitter and Instagram, where I'm always posting photos of my beer and my dogs. How about you, Margo?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram under the name Brooklyn Fit Chick, where I post pictures of my cats and my cats and my cats because they're super cute.
They're the cutest in Brooklyn.
Cutest cats in Brooklyn. And my blog is brooklynfitchick.com. And guys, we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, wash your hands, practice social distancing, wear your masks, and don't be a creep.
Creep.
Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.